Hello. I've got a question for you today. The question is this: why did Jesus die? Why did Jesus die? Maybe if you've grown up in church, you have an instant response to that question, right? Like, yeah, he died for our sins. It's like, okay, well, what does that mean? What does it mean for Jesus to have died for our sins? What is sin, and why does it need dying for? In our culture, in our world, in schools, sin probably isn't used very much, the word, but if it is, it's usually describes something that you probably shouldn't do, but if you did, you'd enjoy it. So I typed in sinfully into Google to see what would come up, and it was sinfully delicious bakeries, kind of like chocolate cake or brownie, something like that. It's yeah, you shouldn't really have it, but go on, it's going to be tasty, go on, it's okay. There's no consequence to it, just you probably shouldn't, but at the same time it'd be nice, so go ahead. Maybe that's an awful analogy, I don't know, but the point is, sin's not really talked about very much, and it definitely doesn't have the meaning that I think it has in the Bible. Why did Jesus die? Well, he died for our sins. Well, what does that mean? There's a story in the Bible right at the start, the story of Adam and Eve. Okay, and you probably know the story of Adam and Eve, or some of it. Essentially, what happens is this: God creates everything, huge mountains and oceans and rivers and all that sort of stuff. He creates the world and the stars and the heavens, etc. And then he creates humanity, and he calls one Adam and he calls one Eve. Adam means human, and Eve means life. Which is a fun fact, but there we go. Okay, so they're put into the Garden of Eden, which is where God kind of wants them to be, and he talks with them. He has a relationship with them. It says that he kind of walks with them. There's a real unity between human beings and between God, and he gives them this purpose, which is to fill the earth, so to have kids and to grow civilizations and build stuff and to care for the world around them. That's what God tells them to do. And then he says, look, for all of that to work, for your relationships with each other to be healthy, for your relationship with me to be healthy, and for your relationship for the world around you to be healthy, I need to know you trust me. And so he plants this tree called the tree of good and evil. And Adam and Eve clearly will have been able to know what is good and what is bad, especially in their relationship with God. But what he wants them to do is to know that shouldn't be eaten from, purely because God says it shouldn't have been eaten from. In other words, God, it's not like the fruit is magically evil. I think what it is God just wants them to trust him and to express that trust in not eating from this random thing. It could have been, don't touch this rock, I think, or don't go down that lane, something like that. No, for this story, it's a fruit. Don't eat it. And then what happens is, great, cool. They go about and do this stuff, and then Eve is kind of walking past this fruit tree, and she sees a snake. Okay, and the snake. Now we could talk for ages about what the snake is, but which you're not going to do. But the snake says, look, that fruit is actually good. It's not bad like what God said. It's actually good. You should eat it. You'll become like God. It's going to be great. You'll know all this stuff. You just go on. It'll be great. Now Eve's there and she takes the fruit. And it says that Adam is with her, but he doesn't do anything. Eve eats, and she sins in that way. And Adam sins by not stopping her. And then Adam is taken and he eats as well. And in that way it says that sin entered the world. And God comes down and he says, what have you done? And he says, look, there's going to be repercussions now. Your relationship with each other is gonna be strained. It's going to be difficult now. And your relationship with me is going to be cut off now because of what you've done. And your relationship with the world now is going to be difficult as well. There's repercussions for what you've done. But essentially, it's this: sin is a thought, a word, or a deed that rejects God and what he says is good, and goes and does this other thing, either by deliberately doing it or by not doing what you know you probably should do. That's what Adam and Eve do in this story. And the reason why the story's there, even though it's a bit weird and it's a bit mythical in some way, the reason why it's there is so that we read it and we go, oh, that's me. I see myself there. I see myself in what Adam did there. I see myself in what Eve did there. And so I want to chuck out to you, do you see yourself in the way that Eve chose to not trust what God said is good and pursue some other thing? Or do you see yourself in Adam in the way that he knew that he should do something, but he didn't? Do you see yourself in this story? We're going to be looking at the question, why did Jesus die? And kind of exploring a bit about what sin is and why it needs dying for. But just to begin it, that's my question. Do you see yourself in the story of Adam and Eve? And if you do, then I believe there's hope for you, because you're a human, and I think everyone in some way relates to this story in some way. But so I don't want to end on a downer like that. But there's a happy ending, okay? But yeah, do you see yourself in the story? In what ways do you see yourself in the story of Adam and Eve? Now I want a chocolate brownie. Dang it. Right. I'm going to go find one, and I'll see you later.